Welcome to the Battle of the Baylans. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Collector's Outpost. I am John. Now, I am doing a side-by-side of 3 really cool Baylan lightsabers. All of these are provided from Vader sabers. I'll put links to each one of these down in the description below, along with a discount code for you. Now, what we're gonna do is take a deep look into the details and find out what sounds best, what looks the most screen accurate. Now, we are not in any way gonna talk about the technology in it, so they all have their own things and everything. I actually have a full video describing all the things between Xeno pixel, SN pixel, GHV3s, Proffies, and I'll put that link also down below in the description. This is just simply about the design and what is the most accurate and what sounds the best over all 3 of these. So what we're gonna do is rank these based on size, blade plugs, hilt design, chassis design, and sound quality. So I'm gonna put the scoreboard up on the screen here and we'll give a check off as we go for each one. So let's start with size. I have heard consistently about 14 to about 14.5 inches, give or take a smidge. You know, unless you can have the real prop in your hand and actually get a measurement from it, you're kind of eyeballing it and you're kind of basing your information on what other people have said. But it's been somewhat consistent from what I hear, somewhere in the 14-inch mark. All right, so let's start over here at the top with just the size. Now we're looking at the top of the emitter to right at the bottom of the pommel. We're looking at 12 inches. All right, so that is obviously, as you can see side by side, the shortest of them all. Moving over here, we are looking at, it looks like 12 3/4 inches right here. And moving over here, we're looking at 13 inches right here. So these two here, these are so close in size, and given the fact that we don't know the exact dimensions of the actual prop itself, I'm gonna give a check mark to each one of these. Now, moving on over to the blade plugs. Now, Baylan has a very specific blade plug here. Now, what you can see on this one is something you've seen on my channel 100 times. It's that kind of turbine one that I'm not a really big fan of, and it actually doesn't even fit in all the way. That's all the way in, and it's actually poking out there at the top. Now, moving over here, our blade plug here is kind of flat. Now, this isn't bad, but it's very flat and it doesn't actually have the texture or the design or anything from Baylan's actual blade plug. And before I show you this one, I actually have some really great footage from Star Wars Replicas. He sent me over some footage from San Diego Comic-Con of what the hilt actually looks like, and you can see the blade plug right here. All right, now here you go. Here is the blade plug in this one here. That is a very accurate blade plug design. So the blade plug check goes to... Now the next part is the hilt design. So we're also going to refer to the footage from Star Wars Replicas during this, so I could show you some side-by-side details between these and that. Now here on the footage, you'll see that the top of the neck area pinches into the front and the back, right over this black ring area. Now that is a very specific design that really makes this hilt unique. Now, what you'll notice here is the fact that there is no pinch here on this neck. It is completely rounded. And in the detail areas or the design, they actually put some black paint in here. Maybe to just kind of bring out some of that detail, but it really wasn't needed. Now, they did get the black around the button. Accurate, that is supposed to be a black or, you know, kind of that charcoal-y color. Now the pommel is pretty darn good. Just like the prop itself, it does have these 3 kind of steps here. This kind of band at the top, middle here, and this longer one at the bottom, with a D-ring that does look almost very much like this. And now one more thing you'll notice is that they made all of the parts jet black. Now, from the show, a lot of the shots actually do look like these parts are black, but from the San Diego Comic-Con prop footage here, it does look a little bit more on the charcoal black kind of color. Now, that brings me over to our next one here, which does have that more gray kind of ash color. Now, do keep in mind, none of these are weathered like the footage you are seeing. Maybe if you get them custom weathered or even weathered them up yourself, you can get them a lot closer to look like the actual prop. Now, let's take a little bit of a deeper look here. We do seem to have a bit more of a matching color. This is more of a gray kind of tone here, but I do think it should be a little bit darker. From the footage I can see here, it is top lit with white light, which I do think is bouncing back up off of the white bottom, kind of lightening the color. Now, I don't think it's pure black, but I do think it's closer to this color here. Now, you can see on this version, they did not add any of those dark black lines in the design, and that is a lot more consistent of how the prop should look. They did not make the surrounding button black. They did, if you can see, let me see if I can get a decent shot of that. Here we go. They did make this more of a pinched neck here in the front and in the back. So that is a lot more screen accurate. However, this part is kind of designed in there, and it's designed in a slight curve, if you can see that. So they kind of took it upon themselves and did their own thing here. But you know, at least they got this little pinch right, so that's kind of cool. Now, moving down, it's pretty much all the same here. You can see the ribbed grip and these little squares here with the circles in them. So that's pretty much consistent. And then moving down to the pommel area, this is probably, I would say, the more accurate designed bottom end here. With this larger top and these two steps, because the prop does seem to have a silver part here and a really rusted, kind of busted up bottom end here. So if you really took this upon yourself and really kind of destroyed this and slammed it up and rusted it up, I think that would look the most consistent. However, we do have a strange D-ring here. It's put in with these two thin, like kind of pin screws. Now, if any of you watched the review video on this, I did say that I actually had to screw this back together and then put some glue into the threads there to keep that in there nice and tight. This, I have to say, is the most accurate version as far as all the detail from the top of the blade plug all the way down to the D-ring. So let's start up here. You can see that the neck has a beautiful pinch to it on both sides, right, which meets up into this kind of flat-topped black ring, which is accurate. On the other two, these red buttons are the actual power switches here. On here, this version, this is actually just a shine through. It's just a piece of plastic, and when the blade is in there, you'll actually see the shine. Now, that is not accurate, so it should actually be more of a red switchy thing there. However, when the light kind of shines through that, it is kind of cool because it lights up red. Moving on down here, this is virtually the same as the other ones here. This, however, is probably the most accurate of them. Now, you can see that there is a slight difference between all three of these sections here. This TXQ1, they even made this little piece black, and it really shouldn't be black. These two kind of creases and indents are kind of different here. Now, this seems to be the more accurate one out of all three. Now, another little detail I just want to point out, like I said before, the red switches here, these are the power buttons. They're both single buttons. This one, they actually designed the buttons into the hilt itself, so they're actually kind of hard to see. Now, on the sides, that's the power and that's the auxiliary. So it's built right into the design, and I absolutely love that. Now, on down to the pommel area. Now, you can see this is very different from the other two. Now, I think you could probably see the difference between those pommel areas. So you can see very clearly that this has the top ring, a middle ring, and the bottom ring. Top ring, middle ring, and the bottom ring is slightly curved in there a little bit. Now, here you can see they gave us that top ring here. And then it just kind of goes to the second level and then slopes down into the D-ring area. Now, the D-ring is probably the most accurate of all three on this one. I actually do like this. This doesn't bother me at all. I honestly wouldn't even notice it if I wasn't side-by-siding all of them. So that is a look at all the details from the top to the bottom of the pommel and what is the most accurate. And the check goes to All right, so the next up, some of you guys wanted to know what's the cooler looking chassis. All right, so let's take a look at some of the chassis here. Now, they are all removable chassis. This one is in there so tight that almost when I'm pulling it out, I don't think I've ever seen a better fit than chassis in my life. It is the most snug thing ever. Now, the chassis on the TXQ is very simple, USB-C charging, battery, and on the back, this is actually a Golden Harvest board, so you can see the board there and the SD card. Now, this does, as you can see, have those step connectors, the top step and bottom step there. So this does have to go in accurately, or you will kind of break the pins if you're not really paying attention and you're just kind of jamming and twisting. So you do have to check out where the top and bottom step goes. So for this one, we've got the wedge switch there, and I have the board facing that side. So we're just gonna pop that in slowly. Now again, this is the tightest one I have, so I do have to give a good push. All right, there we go. Now, moving over, we do actually have a pretty decent chassis. Now, what I love about this version is the fact that they gave us a kill switch. So when I'm done using, I can flip that power off and it will completely preserve the battery until I flip it back on again. Now, on the back, you can see a red light, and we have our board and our SD card right there. And when you flip this on, we do have LEDs on both sides of the chassis there. And another thing I love about these is the fact that you don't need to put this in any specific direction. You could put that in this way, you could put it in this way, you could put it in, it doesn't matter because there's no steps. It's just pins that touch the back of the PCB up over here, and I love that design. So you can do whatever you want. You can go in there and spin it and it doesn't matter, and you just pop it right back in and you are good to go. Now, the chassis on the Ultimate Works version here is kind of nice. Now, there is a positive and a negative about this this chassis here. One, we've got beautiful lights along the side. It's super clean. This is a Proffie, and the bad part is that I cannot see an easy way of getting to the SD card in any way, shape, or form. Even if you pull out the battery, the SD card's not here. So I think you may have to pull the board out or somehow pull the chassis apart. I don't know, so I am not even going to try to speculate where the SD card is on this. But the cool thing about this here is that we've got more beautiful LEDs here on the side. And things like this just make the chassis a lot more fun. Now, this one also does have pins arranged in a certain way. So you're going to want to hold your switch area, this kind of like red switch, up, and you're going to face the board upwards, and you're going to kind of fit that in there and pop. Beautiful. Now you can see what I was saying before. When everything goes on, you can actually see the whole little kind of switch over here light up. The other ones do not do that, so this is kind of cool. I really do like that. So I think this one deserves 2 check marks. And for the last test, we are doing sound quality. Now, unfortunately, not one of these lightsabers actually come with the Baylan sound font, so you will have to download one and install it yourself. Let's get into this sound test because we do have 3 different Hilts with 3 different technologies and at 3 different price points. Now, the only way I can do this and try to give you the best sound is by setting up one of my really good microphones and putting them all about 3 inches from the microphone itself and just kind of let a sound font play. And that is it, my friends. That is an in-depth look at 3 different lightsabers, all slightly in a different budget that you guys can pick from. But you personally may like this version, which is a Xeno V3. Keep in mind, this one also does come with an app, and I do have a full review for this, and I'll put that link down below for you so you can check this one out. Now, this other one, you may simply like the design of this one more with these black detail lines. Now, you could also get this in an SN V4, an SN Pixel, and it could also be used with an app. Now this one, yes, coming in at a higher price point, but does also come with a very accurate display, blade plug, and a fantastic sound with very accurate details up and down, all the way down to the D-ring itself. And last but not least, I'm not even going to put this on the scoreboard, it's just the blade size. This one does have a 1-inch blade. This one has a thinner 7/8 blade, and this one has a 1-inch blade. Now, that's just a matter of personal preference. I do really like 7/8 blades, but I do happen to like this hilt more in a 1-inch blade, but that is a personal preference. That has nothing to do with accuracy of the actual hilt itself. So that is it. That is the ultimate Baylan showdown. Let me know what you think of the results here. Let me know if you agree with any of the check marks that we hit, and I hope that is some information to guide you on your Baylan lightsaber buying spree. I know it's probably a lot to take in, but if you do have any questions, also put those down in the comments and I'll try to help you out there. All right, I will see you all in the next video. Be safe and kind out there in the world. See ya.